We have just observed the most devastating political implosion ever recorded in the history of the United States. I need you to pause whatever you are doing and pay close attention because what unfolded moments ago on the floor of the United States Senate marks the definitive collapse of Donald Trump's presidency. Just minutes ago, broadcast live across the nation, the leadership of the Republican Party, the very individuals who for years defended, shielded, and empowered Donald Trump, publicly and forcefully severed ties with him. This was not a confidential leak or a quiet whisper behind closed doors. This was Senate leadership standing before microphones and declaring that the President of the United States has become a criminal liability who must be removed from office without delay. Donald Trump is now in a state of complete and uncontrolled panic inside the White House, having watched the final source of political life support vanish in real time at the hands of the only people who still had the power to protect him. You must grasp the scale of this betrayal. For years, Trump operated on the belief that the Republican-controlled Senate was his personal shield. He assumed that regardless of what laws he broke, how much money disappeared, or how many Americans were harmed, they would always vote to absolve him. That belief died on live television. What we witnessed was not merely a fracture within the party, it was a synchronized dismantling of his political existence. Senate leadership cited overwhelming evidence related to the Venezuela coup, indisputable proof of financial corruption, and the moral horror of the violence in Minneapolis as reasons they could no longer remain aligned with him. In doing so, they told the American people that the president had betrayed his oath and that they were washing their hands of him. Let us be absolutely clear about why Donald Trump is now consumed by fear. Without the Senate, he has no shield against the Department of Justice. He has no protection from the Southern District of New York. He has no barrier separating him from the International Criminal Court. The Senate was the sole structure standing between him and incarceration. When those leaders stepped away from the podium moments ago, they took his freedom with them. Reports indicate that the president is shouting at his television, demanding his aides contact the senators immediately. Yet no one is answering. His own party has gone silent. He is cut off. He is vulnerable, and he is terrified. We must also examine what caused this eruption of honesty on the Senate floor. Why did this happen now? Why today? It is because his lawyer was arrested. It is because Trump Tower was seized. Republican leadership finally recognized that the vessel was not merely sinking, but already resting on the ocean floor. They understood that continuing to defend a man whose attorney was placed in handcuffs before a jury would cost them their own positions. They would lose their influence. They would lose their authority. This was not bravery. It was survival. They chose to amputate a decaying limb to preserve the body of the party. For Donald Trump, however, the outcome is the same: total abandonment. Consider the ICE war zone narrative that has been exposed. Senate leaders specifically referenced the misuse of federal law enforcement in their statement. They acknowledged that Operation Metro Surge was a catastrophe. They admitted that the killing of Alex Prey crossed a line that could not be defended. This is a profound validation for every activist, every nurse, and every citizen who stood in Minneapolis and declared that pressure mattered and that truth would prevail. The Republican establishment reviewed the polls, examined the protests, and counted the bodies, and they concluded that Trump had become too costly to keep. The chaos inside the West Wing is also driven by financial reality. Trump understands that his fundraising depends on appearing powerful. Once the Senate withdraws support, donors withdraw as well. Already, major financiers are pulling back. They do not back failures. They do not invest in presidents on the verge of conviction. Trump now faces a future not only of legal danger, but of financial collapse. His entire scheme relies on authority, and that authority dissolved on live television. The irony of this moment cannot be ignored. Trump demands unquestioned loyalty and obedience, yet when the pressure became unbearable, his most loyal allies turned on him faster than Brutus turned on Caesar. This is the nature of transactional power. Trump has no true friends. He has only accomplices. And when law enforcement closes in, accomplices always cooperate. Senate leadership is now doing exactly that. They are offering political cover for his removal. What happens in the next 24 hours is critical. With Senate leadership aligned against him, impeachment becomes procedural rather than uncertain. The vote count is no longer in doubt. The real question is whether he resigns before conviction or attempts to bargain for a pardon. The fear we are witnessing is the fear of a man who knows he has lost all leverage. He can no longer intimidate. He can no longer bully. He is a predator without teeth, and the cage is finally being locked. Picture once more the scene on the Senate floor, the solemn expressions, the unforgiving language, and the complete absence of defense. Normally, when a president is attacked, a chorus of allies immediately appears before the cameras to shield him. Today, there was nothing but silence, complete and total silence from Trump's loyal defenders. They were nowhere in sight. They have retreated into their offices, quietly assessing their own legal risks. They understand that the Trump era has ended, and they are frightened of being the final ones left carrying the burden. The consequences tied to the Venezuela connection are equally serious. Senate leaders referenced classified intelligence that made continued loyalty impossible. This validates everything that has been reported. It confirms the coup occurred. It confirms the financial relationships existed. It confirms that the president traded American foreign policy for personal benefit. The Senate has reviewed the evidence, and it shook them to their core. They now see this is not merely corruption. It is betrayal of the nation, and they refuse to be partners in betrayal. Donald Trump now stands before arrest, asset confiscation, and political banishment. It is a threefold collapse. Pressure is closing in from every direction at once. The courts have turned against him, the military has turned away from him, and now the legislature has rejected him. The system of checks and balances he tried to dismantle is finally restoring itself. The process is harsh, but it is functioning. The Constitution is proving stronger than the ego of a single narcissist. Still, we cannot allow Republicans to rewrite the narrative. They will attempt to claim they led the fight against wrongdoing. Do not accept that fiction. They enabled this for years. They acquitted him twice. They celebrated the Metro surge until it became politically toxic. Their votes to convict are welcome, but their attempt to reshape history is not. They are not champions. They are frightened figures who ran out of places to hide. The fear is genuine because Trump understands what awaits him. Without the presidency, he is simply another citizen. A citizen burdened with enormous debt, facing countless criminal charges, and surrounded by enemies across the world. His future now appears dark, empty, and isolated. He is confronting the truth that he caused this himself. He overreached. He took too much. He believed himself immune. And today, before the entire nation, he learned just how vulnerable he truly is. We are witnessing the conclusion of a long nightmare. The fever is fading. The Senate has finally fulfilled its duty. Far too late, but at last it has acted. We must keep our eyes on the end goal. Conviction must follow. Removal must happen. Then accountability in criminal court must come next. Do not relax. Do not grow careless. The creature is wounded and desperate. We must ensure he never returns to power. This moment belongs to the people, to truth, and to everyone who refused to be deceived by this administration. Senate leaders did not abandon him out of choice. They abandoned him because public pressure made loyalty impossible. Your demonstrations, your voices, your anger forced their hand. That is what created this collapse. So pause and take in what you are seeing. Mitch McConnell and the leadership of the GOP turning away from Donald Trump is the defining image of this moment. It signals that the illusion has shattered. The emperor stands exposed, and the chaos inside the White House is the sound of justice finally arriving. We will carry this through to the end. We will watch him depart, and together we will rebuild this nation. His fear is real. Our future belongs to us.